So you got the education section next. The next section comes down is your experiences section. And notice what I call this, experiences. But also notice what I didn't call it. I didn't call it work history. I didn't call it employment history or employment. I didn't call it job history, because it's not about jobs. And people have this idea of, I got to list every job that I've ever had. I got to list the jobs that I've had. It's not necessarily about the jobs that you've had. It's not necessarily in terms of paychecks, because that's the connotation that people believe. Here are the things that I've done and I've gotten paid for, and then sometimes as an afterthought, they'll put things that they did on a volunteer basis, or things they did on a part-time basis, or the community service that they've been involved with, or extracurriculars, or whatever, things like that in a separate category. But those are all experiences too, and for a lot of college students, those experiences have more to do with proving the thesis than any job they've ever had. I mean, heck, you might have had the same job for the last 4 or 5 years to make money, to pay tuition, and put gas in your car and food on your table. But the jobs that you might have had may have had little or no relevance to the career that you want to seek post-graduation. Does that mean that you shouldn't include those jobs? If they have relevance to the thesis, then yeah. If they don't have any relevance to the thesis, then no. Because those jobs become fluff at that point, if they don't have relevance to the thesis that you're trying to prove. And that's the key. And so it's not a matter of work history. It's not a matter of employment history. It's a matter of experiences. What experiences have I had? The word experiences is a much broader concept. In the word experiences, you can put jobs, yes, but you also can put part-time, seasonal, internships, co-op experiences, other kinds of experiences, whether it's community service or volunteerism, anything that you might have done, sometimes even school projects. Anything outside of the lecture discussion kind of format of a class might be an experience. It might be so involved as you might want to write it into your resume. The School of Engineering, for instance, in their senior year has senior design project, typically the last semester before seniors graduate. Well, the senior design project, I tell the engineering clients that we have, that is an experience that needs to be added as an experience to your resume. Now, those engineers did not get paid for that experience. As a matter of fact, they have the honor of paying us, UAB, tuition money for that experience. But that doesn't lessen the experience value. That doesn't make it less of an experience because the money changed hands the opposite way. It's not about money. It's about the experience. So what experiences have you had that can demonstrate or show that you've got the skills that they're looking for? And you want to write those experiences down, not in chronological order. Hopefully we've got that beat into your brain enough by this point. But not in chronological order, but in decreasing order of application to the thesis. Now, for most of us, it ends up being chronological, okay? Because most of us, our skills build upon themselves, and we do more as we learn more. But that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. You want to present the evidence in decreasing application to the thesis. So you start off with the strongest, most convincing experience that you have, and you get your second and your third and your fourth, and then once they don't have any relevancy at all, then you leave them off completely. So you start off with that strongest piece of evidence, and you tell the employer or tell the person who's reading the resume about that experience. Well, where was it that you got the experience? The name of the organization or the place or wherever that you got that experience? What was your title within that? Well, even if it was volunteer or something like that, what was your job title? The dates in which you did it. But the dates are really just sort of, like I said, once again, an afterthought, so they're going to be right justified along with those other dates. And it's just very basic information, just years, basically. I don't need to know months and years. I don't need to know the day and date, and that's too much information. Just give me the years in which you did it. And then tell me the duties and responsibilities that you had within that experience. Even if you were a volunteer, even if you were just a worker bee in that experience, what were your duties and responsibilities? Be concise. Be brief. Don't be narrative. The only time you should have any narrative at all is maybe in the thesis, maybe in that profile. But every place else is short, concise bullet points. You want to start each bullet point, and number one is they're sentence fragments. They're not even full sentences. So don't give me narrative. Don't give me full sentences. And because they're sentence fragments, don't give me punctuation. Give me bullets. Start each bullet with a good, strong action verb. Did and went and worked are not good, strong action verbs. As a matter of fact, if you look on the website, you'll see a handout of nothing but action verbs. If you need a little help in that area in trying to think of the right word to go with this description of this duty or responsibility, there's help for you out there. Go look on the website and go find the handout on action verbs and let that kind of help guide you. Give yourself some good, strong action verbs that help describe what it is that you were doing. Don't use the same word twice. Certainly don't use the same word twice in the same entry. There's enough words out there in our vocabulary. We can come up with enough other kinds of words to help help explain what it was you did. If you perform this and perform this and perform this, it gets boring to the reader. Vary your word choice up so it gives some vocal or some written variety to what it is that you're doing. So start off with a good, strong action verb, sentence fragment, and give me, as often as you can, give the employer quantification about what you do. It's not just a matter of what you do, it's also a matter of how much you do it. So think about what it was that you do in terms of not just what you did in terms of the action, but how much you did it. This is especially important if you're moving into areas where numbers are important, sales and customer service and those kinds of things. How many, how much, to what degree? If you're in a customer service capacity, how many customers did you work with on an average? You don't have to be precise. You don't have to, I did 15.5 customers. Ballpark it. And a lot of people have trouble with that, or think they have trouble with that. And they say, I don't know how many customers I worked with. I said, well, was it more than 10? Oh, yeah. Was it more than 50? Yeah. Was it more than 100? No. Was it about 75? Yeah, about the ballpark it. Give me something, some kind of estimate, something in the middle that helps you quantify what it is that you're doing. And there's a reason for it. Here's a little side. Don't tell anybody I said this. But basically, it's psychological. Most employers are left-brained, analytical numbers people. They deal with numbers all day long. They deal with staffing levels, they deal with budget, they deal with inventory, they deal with numbers all day. They see the world and they think about the world in left-brained, analytical numbers kind of mentality. If you're writing in sort of vague generalities, that has no meaning to them. I did customer service. I waited on tables. That's worthless to them. In order for them to draw a good mental picture about what it was that you were doing, you've got to provide them numbers because that's how they see the world. And so if you say, I waited on tables, general. I was responsible for customer service for over 75 customers per shift, that tells them something. That gives them some number to hold on to. So it's called QA, quantified action. You want to quantify what you're doing, and you want to present that action in terms of quantity, how much you were doing it. Now, sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes they just have to be more generalized or more vague. So you don't want it necessarily or able necessarily to do it every bullet point. But as often as you can, you want to think about quantifying, even if you have to estimate, even if you have to kind of ballpark it. Those are the kind of things you want to put in your resume. The experiences that you've had that make you good at what you want to do. If you tell in the thesis, you tell the employer that you have technical skills, you got to prove that you've got technical skills. If you tell the employer that you've got skills to do, you got to show. You just don't say it. You got to prove it. You can't say something in the thesis that you don't prove or talk about in the resume.